Galactic Trade Hub was the largest market in the three-star system. It flowed in space like a metal city, with thousands of shops installed packed together under a massive dome. Ships came and went every hour, bringing goods from distant worlds. Aliens of every shape and size walked through the crowded street. Some had 4 arms, some had scales, some flowed instead of walking. The air smelled like 100 different foods cooking at once, mixed with engine fuel and strange perfume. Min placed in his 2 years as a cargo hauler, but still amazed him. He was 26 years old, average height, with short black hair and quiet eyes. He worked on a small transport ship called the Moving Cargo Boom Plant. It was not exciting work, but it paid well enough. His captain was a named, tall creature with gray skin and 6 fingers on each hand. Was strict but fair. He kept the crew safe and the ship running. Had arrived at 3 days ago to deliver medical supplies. While waiting for their next job, the crew was free to explore the market. Most of them spent their time drinking at alien bars or buying souvenirs. Preferred to walk alone through the stalls, watching and listening. That was how he found stall 93. It was in the far corner of the market, away from the busy center. Warning signs surrounded it in 12 different languages. A crowd of aliens stood at a safe distance, pointing and whispering. Armed guards stood near the entrance, their weapons ready. Inside the stall was a cage made of thick metal bars, and inside the cage was a creature unlike anything I'd ever seen. Massive. Even lying down, it was taller than him. 6 powerful legs supported a body covered in black scales that looked harder than stone. Its head was wide and flat, with small red eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth arranged in 3 rows. A thick tail swept back and forth across the cage floor, leaving scratches in the middle. I'd heard stories about them. They came from a planet called Prime, a death world where everything was dangerous. Plants were poisonous, the water was acid, and the animals were the deadliest predators in the known galaxy, could tear through steel with its claws and survive wounds that would kill most creatures instantly. One had been captured and brought to for sale. According to the signs, it was worth more money than would earn in 50 years. Wealthy collectors and research stations wanted to own such a rare beast. There was a problem that was impossible to handle. As a handler approached the cage with a long pole. The handler was a Grex, a species known for their telepathic abilities. He was trying to calm the creature with his mind, projecting peaceful thoughts toward it. Acted instantly, it lunged at the bars with terrifying speed, jaws snapping. The handler fell backward, barely avoiding the teeth. The crowd gasped and stepped further away. The creature roared, a sound so deep that felt it in his chest. Alien next shook its head. Third handler of the week, it said, the beast is mad, pure evil. At nothing, he kept watching. The next hour, he saw 2 more handlers try different approaches. One used a chemical spray meant to sedate dangerous animals. It went wild, throwing itself against the bars until they bent. Another handler, with the ability to sense and predict motion, tried to flood the creature with calm feelings. The screamed and slashed at her so violently that sparks flew from its claws, hitting the metal. When agreed, the creature was untamable, a monster, killing machine with no thoughts beyond violence. It saw something else. Just how the eyes moved. They were not fixed on prey. They darted around constantly, tracking every movement, every sound. When someone shouted in the crowd, the creature flinched. When a cargo drone flew overhead, it pressed itself lower to the ground. When the handlers approached with their tools and chemicals, its growls grew faster and higher in pitch. Grown up on a foreign colony on the edge of human space, his family had raised animals for generations. He knew what predator looked like when it was hunting, and he knew what an animal looked like when it was scared. It was not attacking because it wanted to kill. It was attacking because it was terrified. About it said to himself, this creature lived on a world where everything was trying to kill it. It survived by fighting. Then aliens came, captured it, locked it in a small cage, and brought it to a loud, crowded place full of strange smells and strange creatures trying to get inside its head. Of course it was fighting. Fighting was all it knew. But really thinking about it, walked closer. He passed the warning barriers. A guard shouted at him to stop, but held up his hand peacefully and sat down on the floor about 10 meters from the cage. He did not stare at the creature. He did not make any sudden movements. He just sat there, quiet and still, looking at the ground in front of him. Growled. Its tail stopped moving. It watched him with those small red eyes. Stayed perfectly still. It's past, the crowd whispered. The guards kept their weapons ready but did not approach. The owner of the creature, a trader named, watched with 4 narrow eyes. For 30 minutes, they did something it had not done since arriving at. It stopped growling. It lay down on the cage floor and simply watched the human sitting quietly outside. His heart beating fast, but he did not move. He understood something important. Every other being that approached this creature had wanted something from it. They wanted to control it, sedated own it. They came with tools and powers and intentions. Wanted nothing, he was just there, present, patient, unthreatening. For an hour, he stood up slowly and walked away without looking back. And him, there remained calm. It was the first peace the creature had known in weeks. Waiting for him near the food stall. She was his and friend, a woman about his age with sharp eyes and a worried expression. What were you doing? She demanded. That thing has hurt 6 people. It nearly killed a diplomat. I know, said. Then why did you go near it? For a moment, because everyone else is afraid of it, he said, but I think it is more afraid of everyone else. At him like he was crazy. Maybe he was, but could not stop thinking about the creature in the cage. He could not stop thinking about those red eyes, full of fear and exhaustion. To stall 93 the next morning. He brought nothing with him except a small bag of dried meat strips that he had bought from a food vendor. The meat came from some animal he had never heard of, but the vendor promised it was safe for most species. The crowd around the cage was smaller today. Word had spread that it was impossible to sell, and many buyers had lost interest. Only a few curious onlookers remained, watching from a safe distance. Walked past the warning barriers again. The same guard from yesterday started to stop him, then hesitated. The human had not been hurt before. Maybe he knew something others did not. Down in the same spot as yesterday, about 10 meters from the cage, it was padding back and forth, its claws clicking against the metal floor. When it saw the human, it stopped and stared. Not looked directly at the creature. He had learned from his childhood that predators saw direct eye contact as a challenge. Instead, he looked at the ground, keeping the creature in his peripheral vision. Slowly, carefully, he opened the bag of meat. He took out one strip and tossed it gently toward the cage. It landed about 2 meters short of the bars. Did not move. Its nostrils flared as it caught the scent. A low rumble came from its throat. Waited. 10 minutes, the moved. It walked to the edge of the cage, reached one massive paw through the bars, and dragged the meat strip inside. It sniffed the meat thoroughly before eating it in one bite. A small spark of hope. He tossed another strip, this time a little closer to himself. Hesitated longer this time. It watched the human carefully, but eventually it reached out again and took the meat. It continued for an hour. tossed meat strips one by one, each time placing them slightly closer to where he sat. They took each one, moving a little more confidently each time. End of the hour, the meat strips were landing right at the base of the cage bars. They had to press its snout against the metal to reach them. It was now only 3 meters away from. He got up slowly and walked away. He did not push further. Patient, he reminded himself. Trust takes time. Came back the next day, and the day after that. Each time he brought meat. Each time he sat quietly and let the creature come to him at its own pace. On the third day, something changed. Sitting in his usual spot when they approached the bars without waiting for meat, it stood there, massive head lowered, watching him with those red eyes. Its tail was still. Its growl was gone. His breath catching his throat. Slowly, very slowly, he reached into his bag and pulled out a meat strip. Instead of tossing it, he held it in his open palm and extended his arm toward the cage. The crowd that had gathered fell silent. Everyone watched. No one breathed. Moved forward, its snout pressed against the bars. Hot breath washed over his hand. He could see every detail of those terrible teeth, each one longer than his finger. The creature took the meat gently from his palm. Its tongue brushed against his skin, rough like sandpaper but careful. It ate the meat and then did something that made his heart pound. It did not pull away. Pressed its snout harder against the bars, pushing until its chin was exposed. It made a low sound different from its usual growls. This sound was softer, almost like a question. Understood? He had seen dogs and cats do something similar back on his homeland. They wanted touch, connection, comfort. Raised his hand slowly and reached through the bars. His fingers touched the scales under the creature's chin. They were warm and smooth and they looked like polished stone. He scratched gently. Closed its eyes. The low sound grew louder, deeper. It was not a growl, it was something like a purr. For a long time, he could hear whispers from the crowd behind him. He could feel dozens of eyes watching, but he did not care. In the moment, there was only him and the creature. Him there an hour later. She had been looking for him all morning, worried that he had gotten himself killed. When she saw him standing at the cage, hands still touching his chin, she stopped and stared. She said softly, "What did you do?" Looked at her with a tired smile. "Nothing special, I just waited." How that thing attacked everyone, telepaths, empaths, trained handlers, how did you get close to it? His hand back slowly. He opened its eyes and watched him, but it did not growl. It simply lay down near the bars and continued to watch. Exactly why I said, everyone who came to this creature tried to do something good. Control it, calm it, read its mind, push feelings into it. But this animal comes from a death world. It has survived by trusting nothing and fighting everything. When someone tries to get inside its head or change its emotions, it feels like an attack. Look at it with something like respect. I did not try to control it. I did not try to change it. I just sat here and showed it that I was not a threat. I gave it food and asked for nothing in return. I let it decide when to come closer. Took her head in disbelief. That is insane. That should not work. Not for other species, said, but humans do not have telepathy. We cannot project emotions or release controlling chemicals. All we have is patience, and time, and the willingness to wait. Spread quick through the market. By evening, everyone was talking about the human who had touched the untouchable beast. Merchants came to see for themselves. Scientists sent messages asking for interviews. Even the trader watched with new interest in his four narrow eyes. Not care about the attention. He returned to that night and lay in his small cabin, thinking about the creature in the cage. Still a prisoner, it was still going to be sold, and there was nothing he could do about that. Or was there? At the ceiling for a long time. He thought about the eyes, full of fear and loneliness. He thought about how it had pressed against the bars, desperate for gentle touch after weeks of violence and terror. It had sinned then, lying in the dark. He did not know how and he did not know when, but he was going to help the creature. He was going to find a way to set it free. It was probably impossible. It was definitely dangerous, but had never been good at ignoring things that needed to be done. It was spread faster than expected. Within 2 days, research from 3 different species arrived to study what they called the phenomenon. Scientists, behaviorists, and experts on dangerous animals all wanted to understand how a simple human cargo hauler had succeeded where trained professionals had failed. Then was a woman named Bora. She was a human who had spent the last 4 years studying alien species at a research station there. She was in her early 30s, with long dark hair tied back in a practical braid and intelligent eyes that missed nothing. I had heard stories about humans connecting with alien creatures before. There were reports from dozens of worlds about humans befriending animals that other species considered impossible to approach, but she had never seen such a clear example until now. Found at stall 93, sitting in his usual spot near the cage. That was lying close to the bars, watching him with calm red eyes. It was a remarkable sight. The same creature that had hospitalized 6 handlers now lay peacefully like a resting dog. "I sit with you," Bora asked. "Look up if you want, but move slowly. It does not like sudden movements." Sat down carefully, keying her distance from the cage. She watched us reach through the bars and scratched the creature's chin. That made that strange purring sound. "I have so many questions," he said. "Everyone does," replied. He did not sound annoyed, just tired. "You talk to me, I want to understand what you did, not just for science. I think what you discovered here is important." Considered this for a moment, then he nodded. "Okay, but not here, the creature needs rest." Went to a quiet food stall nearby. Bor bought them both drinks, and they sat at a corner table away from the crowds. "Tell me everything," Bor said, "from the beginning." Told her about his first day at the market. He described watching the handlers fail, noticing the creature's fear, and deciding to sit near the cage. He explained his approach over the following days. The patience, the meat, the slow building of trust. Listened carefully, recording everything on a small device. When he finished, she sat back and thought. "I've been studying this for 2 days," she said. "I reviewed footage of every failed attempt to handle them. I talked to the handlers who were injured, and I think I understand why you succeeded where they failed." "Why?" he asked. "Because you are human," Bor said simply, "and humans are different from every other intelligent species in the galaxy." Pulled up information on her device and showed him. Look at the species that tried to handle them. Greg's telepaths tried to calm its mind, but the sensed the mental intrusion and attacked. Empaths tried to project peaceful emotion, but they felt someone pushing feelings into its brain and fought back. Even the non-psychic handlers used chemical sprays and pheromone tools designed to sedate dangerous animals. Look at seriously. Every single approach involved trying to control the creature, to dominate it, to force it to feel or act a certain way. And the which evolved on the most dangerous planet we know of has one rule for survival: fight anything that tries to control you. Not slowly. It makes sense when you say it like that. Bor continued, you did none of those things. Humans have no telepathy. We cannot project emotions. We have no narrow chemicals that affect other species. All you could offer was your presence, your patience, your willingness to wait without demanding anything in return. Lean forward. Do you understand what that means? That has been surrounded by beings who want to control it since the day it was captured. You were the first creature it met who wanted nothing from it. You were the first one who let it make its own choices. It was quiet for a long moment. He had not thought about it in those terms. He had just done what felt right. Something else, Bor said. I looked into reports of humans interacting with dangerous alien animals across the galaxy. There are hundreds of cases. Humans befriending creatures that killed handlers from other species. Humans calming animals that were considered permanently aggressive. Again and again, the same pattern. Showed him more files, stories from distant planets, reports from research stations, accounts from traders and explorers. In case after case, humans had formed connections with creatures that other species could not approach. Always thought humans were unremarkable, Bor said. No psych powers, no special abilities, just a stubborn species from a small planet on the edge of nowhere. But maybe that is exactly what makes us special. We cannot force connection, so we learn to earn them. About his childhood on the foreign colony, he remembered the animals his family raised. He remembered learning that you could not make an animal trust you. You had to show it day after day that you were safe, that you meant no harm, that you would be patient. That was the human way, not domination but partnership, not control but trust. What will you do with this information? Asked. A report, Bor said. Share it with the scientific community. I think other species need to understand what humans can do, not as warriors or builders but as connectors, bridge makers between species. He paused and looked at him carefully. But I also want to ask you something. What do you plan to do about them? Surprised by the question, what do you mean? I can see it in your eyes, Bor said. You care about the creature. You are not just studying it or proving a point. You want to help it. Not answer for a long time. Finally, he said, it does not deserve to be in a cage. It did not choose to be captured. It did not choose to be brought here. All it has known since arriving is fear and pain. I want to change that. Trader will never let it go, Bor said. That creature is worth a fortune. I know, Sid, but I have to try. Stayed him for a moment, then she smiled. You know, when I first heard about the human who touched that, I thought it was luck or maybe stupidity, but I was wrong. You are something else entirely. What is that? One who still believes that kindness can change things, he said. The galaxy needs more people like that. Stood up and gathered her things. I will be here for another week. If you need help with your plan, whatever it is, come find me. I may not be able to do much, but I can try. Nodded, thank you. She walked away. He felt something he had not felt in a long time. Hope. He was not alone in this anymore. Oh, the auction would be announced. It would be sold to the highest bidder. The auction was scheduled for 3 days from now. The trader who owned it had announced it across every channel in the trade hub. The creature that had been considered unsellable was now the most talked about Imon. Everyone wanted to see the beast that a human had tamed. At stall 93 the next morning, there was tall and thin, with pale gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on his face. He wore expensive clothes decorated with gems from distant planets. Everything about him spoke of wealth and greed. And said, his voice smooth like oil, you have done something remarkable. That creature was worthless before you came along. Now buyers are fighting for the chance to own it. Stood up slowly, the growled softly behind him but did not attack. It had learned to trust him. I did not do it for you, said. Of course not, replied, but you will benefit anyway. I am prepared to offer you a percentage of the sale, 5%. That is more money than you would make in 10 years. No. 4 eyes blinked in confusion. No, you do not even know how much the creature will sell for. It does not matter, Sid. I will not help you sell it. His expression shifted from confusion to annoyance. You already helped. The creature is calm now. Buyers believe it can be handled. The auction will proceed whether you cooperate or not. His head. The creature is calm because it trusts me. If I tell people the truth, that it only responds to me and will attack anyone else, your buyers will disappear. Eyes narrowed dangerously. Are you threatening me, human? I'm telling you the truth. That creature is not tame. It is not safe. It has simply learned that I am not a threat. Take me away and it will go back to attacking everyone who comes near it. Step closer. He was much taller than and he used his height to try to intimidate. You are a cargo hauler. You have no power here. No money. No connections. I could have you removed from the station within the hour. He said. He did not sit back. But then you would have a dangerous creature that no one can control. How much will it be worth then? In frustration. What do you want? More money? A larger percentage? I want you to release it. Release it? Laughed, a harsh sound like metal scraping. That creature is worth more than your entire ship. Why would I release it? Keeping it is wrong, said simply. It was taken from its home. It has been trapped in a cage for months, terrified and alone. It is not cargo, it is a living being. His property snapped. My property, legally purchased and documented. Your feelings do not change that. He was right. The laws of the trade hub protected ownership, had the legal right to sell it to whoever paid the most. There was nothing he could do about that. But he was not going to give up. I will stay with it, said. Until the auction, I will tell every buyer exactly what I told you, that the creature only trusts me, that it will attack anyone else. I will make sure everyone knows what they are really buying. Face twisted with rage, I will have you arrested. For what? Talking, telling the truth. Raised his hand as if a strike, did not flinch. And him the rose to its feet. It pressed against the bars and let out a deep, rumbling growl, its red eyes fixed on with unmistakable threat. Back quickly, his confidence cracked. See, said quietly. It knows. It understands more than you think. Hurt me and it will never be calm again. Your press investment will become worthless. For a long moment, no one moved. The tension in the air was thick enough to taste. Footsteps approached, turned to see walking toward them, followed by Bora and a crowd of aliens. Word had spread about the confrontation and people had come to watch. Stepped up beside, I heard what is happening, she said. I'm with you. Am I? Said Bora. She crossed her arms and faced. I have already sent my report to the Galactic Science Council. They are very interested in this creature and how it was captured. I wonder if all your documents are in order. 4 eyes darted nervously. My documents are perfectly legal. They, Bora asked. Prime is a protected world. Bail permits are required to remove any wildlife. I would hate for someone to investigate and find problems. Voices joined in. A Grex elder who had been injured by the step forward. I tried to control that creature with my mind, he said. I was wrong to do so. It was defending itself against my intrusion. Guard spoke next. I used aggression chemicals on it. I made it more afraid. The human was right. We were all attacking it without realizing. By one, aliens in the crowd admitted what they had done. They had tried to dominate the creature. They had treated it like a thing to be controlled, not a being to be respected. The human had shown them a different way. Around at the crowd, he was surrounded. His reputation was being destroyed in real time. Even if he had the legal right to sell no one would want to buy from him after this. And he's bat, you want the creature, find somewhere for it to go, get it off my station. But if it kills anyone during transport, the responsibility is yours. Let relief wash over him, I will find a place. I have 1 week, said. After that I sell it anyway, and I never want to see you on again. Turned and stormed away. The crowd parted to let him through. A hand on shoulder, that was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, admitted. Or smiled. 1 week is not much time. Do you have any idea where to send it? About it. He remembered stories about wildlife sanctuaries run by humans, protected places where endangered and dangerous animals could live in peace. Need to make some calls, he said, but I think I know someone who can help. And him, the lay back down. It pressed its snout against the bars and reached back to scratch its chin without looking. 1 week to save a creature that the entire galaxy had given up on. It was not much time, but had never been good at accepting impossible odds. Spent the next 3 days sending messages to every wildlife organization he could find. Most did not reply. Some said that was too dangerous. Others said they did not have the facilities to house such a creature. The 4th day, he received a response from Earth's Interstellar Wildlife Preservation Corps. They had a sanctuary on a moon called 4, a protected reserve for endangered and dangerous species. They had heard about the situation and were willing to take the creature in. There was one condition. Someone had to escort the during transport. Someone had trusted. Agreed immediately. Transport ship arrived on the 6th day. It was a large vessel designed specifically for moving dangerous animals. The crew was experienced and professional, but when they saw the Ian, they hesitated. The thing weighs 2 tons, the captain said, and it has killed before. How exactly do you plan to get it on board? We'll walk it in, said. Captain looked at him like he was insane. Walk it in, right, and if it decides to tear your head off. It will not. No one believed him, but no one had a better plan. And the cage was the most dangerous part. Guards refused to do it. The transport crew refused to do it. In the end, did it himself while everyone watched from a safe distance. Approached the cage slowly. It was standing, alert and tense. It could smell the new ship, the unfamiliar people, the fear in the air. Its old instincts were screaming at it to fight. Knocked at the cage door and put his hand on the bars. Hey, he said softly. I know you're scared. I know everything is strange and new, but I need you to trust me one more time. Can you do that? Lowered its head and pressed its snout against its palm. That deep purring sound rumbled from its chest. Latched the cage door and swung it open. The crowd held its breath. Several people ran. The guards raised their weapons. Out of its cage for the first time in months. It was even more massive than it had looked behind bars. Its claws left deep scratches in the metal floor. Its scales gleamed black under the stadium lights. Looked around at all the people pointing weapons at it. Could see its muscles tensing. It was ready to fight. Stepped forward and placed his hand on its snout. Easy, he said. They are afraid of you. Do not give them a reason to hurt you. Red eyes focused on him. Slowly its muscles relaxed. It made a soft sound almost like a sigh. Started walking toward the transport ship. Come on, he said. Follow me. And it did. A massive creature walked beside him like a loyal companion. Its heavy footsteps echoed through the silent market. Every alien it passed pressed against the walls, terrified. But they ignored them all. It only had eyes for the human in front of it. Reached the transport ship. The cargo bay was open, a ramp leading up into the hold. Inside was a large enclosure, much bigger and more comfortable than the cage on. Fresh water, real food, room to move. Stopped at the base of the ramp. It looked at the ship, then back at it. For the first time, it seemed uncertain. No, said. Another cage, another ship, but this time is different, I promise. This ship is taking you somewhere safe. A place with trees and open land and no one trying to control you. I will be there with you the whole way. Walked up the ramp and stood inside the cargo bay. He held out his hand. Looked at him for a long moment. Then it followed him up the ramp and into the ship. Transport crew cheered, wiped tears from her eyes. Even Bora, who had seen a lot of strange things in her career, looked amazed. Down in the cargo bay next to this new enclosure, the creature lay down beside the bars, pressing close to where he sat. He said, not so hard. Ship launched an hour later. The journey to 4 would take 5 days. Spent most of that time in the cargo bay sitting with her. He talked to it about nothing in particular. His childhood, his family, the places he had seen. The creature could not understand his words, but it seemed to find his voice comforting. The 3rd day, something wonderful happened. It stopped pressing against the bars of its enclosure. Instead, it started exploring. It sniffed at the water basin. It tested the sleeping platform. It looked out the small window at the stars passing by. For the first times in the capture, it was not afraid. They arrived at 4. The sanctuary staff was waiting. They had prepared a large habitat for with forests and streams and caves like its home world. It was the most advanced facility he had ever seen. But there was a problem. Refused to enter its new habitat. Staff tried everything. They used food to lure it. They backed away to give it space. Nothing worked. The creature simply stood at the entrance and would not move. Only the head of the sanctuary turned to, would you go in first? Stood. He walked past the and into the habitat. The artificial sun warmed his skin. The trees rustled in a gentle breeze. A stream gurgled nearby. Looked back at the, come on, this is your new home. Creature hesitated. Then slowly it walked into the habitat. It sniffed the air. It touched the grass with its claws. It looked up at the artificial sky. And then it ran. Watched as it bounded through the forest, jumping over streams, exploring every corner of its new territory. It moved with a joy he had never seen from it before. It was free. Sanctuary director walked up beside him. You have a gift, she said. I have never seen anyone connect with a creature like that. Just listen, said. Everyone else was trying to control it. I just listened. Nodded thoughtfully. We could use someone like you here. Someone who understands animals the way you do. Would you consider staying? But his cargo hauling job. His old life moving boxes between lands. He looked at the now lying in a pad of sunlight, finally at peace. Yes, he said. I think I would. Later, travelers to 4 would tell stories about a strange sight. A young human sitting beneath silverleaf trees, a massive black-scaled beast curled beside him. The creature that had terrified an entire space station now purred like a content cat as the human scratched its chin. The story spread across the galaxy. It was shared in markets and space stations, in laboratories and council chambers. A new saying emerged among species who had never thought much about humans before. A beast cannot be tamed, they would say, send for a human. They do not conquer, they do not control. They simply wait and listen and care. And somehow, against all odds, that is enough. For sought fame, he was content with his simple life at the sanctuary, surrounded by creatures that others had given up on. But his story changed how the galaxy saw human. Warriors, not conquerors. Patient souls who believed that trust, earned slowly and honestly, was more powerful than any weapon in the stars. He was going to find a way, had very little time and almost no resources. He had made a promise to himself in the dark of his cabin, and he intended to keep it. Tomorrow he would go back, and he would start figuring out a plan. Go back tomorrow. He did not know why exactly. He just knew that he needed to. Think about that creature called to him, and had learned long ago to trust his instincts.